Okay, welcome to the team call. First team call of May. The year is flying by. It's May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We are basically this month going to take it back to basics and I called it like a coach success stories because I just think ultimately these are the behaviors that make you successful as a coach. And I think inviting is like the number one key to your business. So that's why I wanted to start with this. Social media and inviting will actually go like pretty much hand in hand. So we'll do social media next week. And I think if your social media is in the right place, it makes inviting easier, but you have to be inviting regardless. So I wanted to start here and I just wanted to kind of give some basics on it and hopefully maybe take some of the fear out of it, because I think the number one business killer is not inviting. And the reason why people don't invite is because of fear of what other people will think, fear of rejection. And then they often take it too personally. So I think sometimes being able to like dumb that down or just go ahead and squash it and move past it is ultimately the best thing that you can do, because if you don't do this behavior, you'll never really grow your business. Of course, there are some people that can attract enough people that come to them off social media, but I will say in 4 years of doing this, I maybe have one person a month come to me now because I've been so consistent with it, but even that's not a given. And it would be awesome if that always happened, but more often than not, I am actually going out and asking people if they want to join me. Of course, a lot of it is like who's watching my stories and who's watching that post, which is why social media is a big part of it. But some of it oftentimes is just kind of like random reaching out like, hey, I just think you'd be really awesome at this. So I think we have to get in a place where inviting isn't so scary and we're looking at it as planting seeds versus like, I'm going to reap a benefit from this right away. So I have been a coach for almost 4 years. In 6 days, actually, I'll hit my 4-year mark. And in that time, I have hit Success Club every single month of my business. And ultimately, the reason why is because of inviting. I never looked at it as something that I was too terrified to do. Of course, there are some invites I've been scared to send. Sometimes I've done it anyways. Sometimes I've not. And then I've kicked myself because some of those people have gone to sign up with someone else. Or maybe they've decided to sign up for a different boot camp or something because I wasn't very diligent. And ultimately, I've looked at those instances as a lesson learned for the future. So inviting really is all about planting seeds and ultimately building relationships. I think social media has completely changed now to where it used to be, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but on Facebook, you'd spend a lot of time getting to know someone and then you'd invite. Now with Instagram and with how fast-paced things move over there, you can basically start a relationship by inviting them first. If they say no, work on building a relationship from there. So it's kind of flipped the game a little bit, and it's allowed, I think, a lot of people to build a relationship. Hey, Stacey. By sending an invite first. So I think that this is like a crucial first step a lot of times in getting to know someone. So I did create just a little slideshow here, and I'm going to share my screen and kind of talk about everything as we go. Again, I did it in Canva, but I just want to make sure you guys kind of have like a point of reference. So inviting 101. The inviting goal really is to plant the seeds and get to know, like, and trust them and have them know, like, and trust you. Ultimately, this can be done through social media. Obviously, you can do it face-to-face too, but the instances for that now are much less. So a lot of this is going to be on social media, and a lot of trust and a lot of like them getting to know you is going to be through your social media posts. But you also need to be reaching out to these people directly, because that will show them that you're a real person, that you ultimately have something that you want to like help them with, that you want to build a relationship with them, and then that will help you connect with them. I'm sorry, I didn't even share my screen, did I? Help you connect with them on a like one-on-one basis and really hopefully build that relationship to bring them into a challenge group with you or bring them onto your team with you. Or maybe if that's not where it goes, maybe where it goes is that you are connecting with them and they are connecting you with someone else. That sometimes happens with me, especially now on Instagram. When I start talking to people, they might say it's not for me, but I do have somebody else that might be interested in this. So keep that in mind. You have to detach yourself from the outcome of inviting. So no's are going to happen. They're going to happen a ton. But if you continue to love on that person, that really shows them that you're different. You're not just going to send them an invite when they say no, be like, okay, thanks, have a great day, and move on. No, you're going to keep building that relationship with them. And I think that's the cool part about it. Like nearly every person I sign up has declined my invite at some point in time. There are, of course, the unicorns, that will kind of trust you right away. Like I spoke to someone on Instagram this weekend that I had invited. She had been watching my stories for a while. I asked her some questions. I eventually got her on the phone. And she said, a lot of people ask me to do this, but I just felt like you seemed very real. And I like to watch your workout clips. So yeah, I want to do this with you. And she signed up as a coach and is going to get started with us in our challenge group this weekend. So I would have never been able to connect with her had I not invited her first, because that's how my relationship with her grew. And you have to just know that, like, no's are going to happen, and think about what your relationship with your coach is. Like, I would ask for a show of hands, but I know our call's a little bit smaller. How many of you actually got here because you were invited? My guess would be everyone. I was ultimately brought into this because I was invited. And as much as I would love to say again that, I took the initiative and sought out my coach and I sought her out to start as a coach, no, she had to ask me to do all those things. And it was almost like giving me permission to take that step. So that's what you're doing with these people. And that's why inviting really is, like, at the core, relationship building. It's making friendships. It is, starting a relationship with someone that you've never met before. And it might be on the basis of health and fitness, but it grows into so much more than that. I kind of think the cool thing about inviting too is that when you start to grow these relationships with people, you might find that, like, what started as a random invite to you, actually for that person maybe gave them, like, a friend that they hadn't had in a long time, or maybe gave them an outlet that they could, like, I've had so many people tell me they were pregnant before they've told anyone else, because our relationship has just grown that much more quickly. And it all started with me inviting them into something. I think the key to this, though, is just being real. So we make this really scary. And I think it's okay to say you're nervous to ask. I think it's okay to say that, like, this might be awkward or this might be random, but I wanted to know if you'd consider doing this. And that's really the key to being real with people and developing that relationship with people, which I think is awesome. Because a lot of us think that we have to be perfect, and really in inviting, you can be your authentic self, and you can really pick people that you want to work with. You don't have to invite every single person. I mean, of course, sometimes I do, like, invite every person watching my stories because I don't necessarily know enough about them. But I can often tell sometimes when I don't want to work with someone. And if I don't want to work with them, I just don't send them an invite, and that's okay. So I just say here, invite how you want to be invited. So I think that, I put on here again, Instagram is like speed dating versus Facebook is taking time to build, like, very significant relationships. The interesting thing about this is I kind of hate the Facebook method. If you like it, then I say you keep doing it. But I don't want to talk to you about the weather. I don't want to necessarily ask, like, all your kids or your health backstory before I ask you to join me in this. I just want to ask you to join me in this, and then I want to see what flows from that. So that's why Instagram actually has made my life a lot easier, because I felt like a lot of Facebook was like pulling answers out of people and feeling a little fake in a conversation. If you like that, though, and if you ultimately think, like, I would be uncomfortable being invited into this if I hadn't been asked questions about me first, then you do that. Do whatever works for you. I just get these conversations on Instagram now, and even on Facebook, where people are like, so where do you live? And do you like that? And is the army lifestyle difficult for you? Do you find that that's a struggle when you have to move? And I'm like, this is all kind of BS, because I know it's going to be leading into something, and it always does. So I just would prefer to go right in and say, hey, like, you look like somebody I would want to be friends with. You look like somebody I would want in our tribe of ladies that's really uplifting and inspiring. Have you ever thought about joining me? And I just leave it at that. And if they say no, they say no. That's fine. I think coming from a place of gratitude in this is really huge. So you have to sit down and think about all the ways that this has impacted you. And I think a lot of times people feel so icky or weird asking someone else to join them in this business because they don't think first about all the things that it has done for you. Has it improved your health? Has it given you something to get excited about? Has it given you more confidence when you're going out on a date night with your husband? Has it made you that mom that will get up and play with your kids when otherwise, like before, you didn't have the energy for it? Has it helped you come off of medications that you didn't want to take in the past? Has it helped you pay off a bill? It doesn't matter what it is. Like, doesn't matter what your income success has been. Has it helped you do these things? If so, that's something to be excited about, and that is something to connect with somebody else with, because chances are all these other people out there are going to be looking for something like that. If they see you excited about life, if they see you getting up every single day and working out, when in reality they're just watching you, wishing that they had the motivation that you had, that's your chance to connect with these people and invite them into this business, invite them into these groups, and say, let me help you get to be in that place where you want to be. And that's huge. And I think that oftentimes we feel weird inviting because we feel like we're just asking someone to spend money, but that's not what we do, you guys. Like, we are Beachbody coaches, and we're in this business because it's different. And it's something that really allows us to help change someone else's life, or allows us to help them change their own life, versus just asking them to spend money on something that they're not going to use. Like, I'm sorry, but I buy Lash Boost. that really in no way, shape, or form improves my life. Like, I like having longer lashes, but there's no like extrinsic value to it for me. All of this that we do gives somebody the opportunity to like fully transform their life. It gives somebody the opportunity to build a strong relationship with other ladies that are maybe different than the typical people that they encounter. Like if you're one of those people that's always said you're not a girl's girl because you weren't surrounded by good women, or if you maybe didn't see the value of yourself and you started personal development, it totally transformed your life and your mind. That was me. And I felt like if I could show everybody else out there just a little bit of this, that would be amazing. And I think that that's why I've been able to show up every day and invite, because I just know that so many people are lacking what we have. Maybe they have workouts, but they probably don't have the community. Maybe they have a nutrition plan that their doctor gave them, but they don't really have empowerment to make healthy foods for themselves or their families. Maybe they have, a killer fitness and nutrition plan, but they have no one to support them. We've got something that kind of fills in all those gaps. And I can confidently say when I invite them that this will change their life. And I do that because I've experienced it myself, but I also recognize all that this has done for me. So every day I write out my gratitude. Every day I say, this is why this has improved my life. Maybe it's just 3 things a day. Maybe it's like the 10 that Rachel Hollis says. But if you can do that and constantly remind yourself of that, it makes inviting more fun because you're like, I've got something here. I've got something that other people need versus, I hate to really send this invite to this person because it's like so salesy and icky. It's not, you guys, I promise. If you're doing it from the right place, you're honestly going to be doing something really fun. Service oriented. So I say here, like if you have something that can serve people, serve people. A lot of people will say no, and that's okay. But like your job is to really kind of weed through those people and figure out the ones that need you. And I do think social media makes this easier because you can see who's watching your posts and see who's liking your stories. But if you've not even gotten to that place yet, like there's probably people in your life that need something that you have. And if you've been too scared to share it with them, go serve. Like, you're not trying to just sell them a challenge pack. Maybe it's you're just giving them a recipe to get them started. Maybe it's you're just giving them free access to Beachbody On Demand to get them started. Or maybe it's a loved one that you know needs the financial help of this and that they could do something with it. Like those people should be all asked about this. The first people I asked were the hardest people I thought because it was Colin and I was asking him to buy in with what I was doing and really trust me. And then it was my mom and I was asking her to give me the ability to help her with her health. Those were uncomfortable conversations, but because I did them and because I actually got them to say, yeah, I'll give it a try for a month with you, that gave me so much more confidence to then go out and talk to other people. So you have to start with those, uncomfortable maybe conversations that are really close to you to get those people to give you that sort of buy-in and give you that sort of confidence. And then you can go out and really impact other people. And it has to be both, because I think if you have something that's at your fingertips that can help transform that many lives, you have to be sharing it with every person whose life you ultimately think this could help improve. So don't be scared of it. Invite how you want to be invited and make sure you're coming at someone with a place of love and with a place of like really wanting to serve them, and don't have an end goal in mind. I think sometimes the problem is that we go in and we're asking about a challenge pack. And when they say no to that, we just cut it off. No, your goal is to find out what they need and then make the right recommendations. And if it's not a challenge pack, that's okay. So I just wanted to give a sample invite here. So you guys know I like to basically write out like kind of a generic invite and then use it like basically with every person who's been liking my stories or every person who's been following my posts. And I think the reason why I find that to be easier is because often they're following me, so I can say thank you for that. They are, maybe somebody I don't know their needs yet, but I can kind of tell them what we do, and I just ask if they'd be interested. I'm not shoving anything specific down their throat. I'm not, the PB&J method that they talked about in the National Wake Up Call is great, but I just find that I don't have time to often scroll their feeds, like come up with something really specific. So I think kind of going with a more generic invite makes more sense, and it really allows you to be more efficient with your time. So I put this like, hey girl, this is random, but I know we connected on Instagram and I wanted to reach out. You seem like somebody I'd be friends with in real life. I don't know if you'd be interested at all, but I run virtual boot camps with a bunch of busy women all over the country. We check in with workouts, we check in with nutrition, and we hold each other accountable at the same time. Is that something you'd be interested in? Or is that something you'd like more info about? That's really basic, you guys. And I think sometimes we think we have to come up with this really specific, detailed, like giving all of the info invite. And so we send maybe like 4 in a day versus 40. And if you have something like this that is very like general and allows you to start a conversation with someone, and then you can kind of narrow it down as you go. This will make you so much more productive. It'll also make you like talking to many more people, which increases your confidence level. And I guarantee it increases your chance of hitting Success Club, of increasing your volume, of increasing your commission, because you're going to be touching more lives with it. Not everyone is going to say yes, of course, but this is a great way to start by planting a seed. A lot of times I've noticed with people, one, they don't know that like we have something that we can offer to someone else. That's pretty huge, right? Like we want to say with this, no, we've got boot camps that we run that are for everyone. Two, they might not really understand what it is that we do. So saying challenge group or accountability group maybe doesn't always work. You probably want to say boot camps. They understand that there's a workout involved, that there's maybe a nutrition plan involved. And then three, let them know right away that when they give you that time objection, which is most people's objection, that you're already addressing that by saying it's a bunch of busy women all over the place. So they can't give you as many objections if you're going ahead and addressing it in your invite. So I think something like this is really awesome to screenshot it. I'll save this whole presentation in the team page. But I think having something like this on hand that you can maybe tweak as you go would be great. I also send generic ones kind of like this, but more geared to like what the next boot camp is. So like next Monday, we have our Made for More boot camp coming up. And in this, I would say, like, we have a virtual boot camp coming up that has either the option to work on fitness or nutrition. Both are an option too, if that's something that you want to work on. Is that something you'd be interested in? I just keep it really open, and I keep it, like, hopefully in a place where it's not giving all the details away. I'm not going to use Beachbody. I'm not going to say Shakeology. I'm not going to say Beachbody On Demand because I don't know what they need yet. But I also want to give them enough detail so they know what I have coming up. So something like this allows you to really quickly connect with people. It allows you to touch more people when you sit down to do your power hour. And what I've decided to do lately is like really setting an alarm on myself, because I've noticed I've just been running out of time every day. And I might give myself 20 minutes to send out this message to as many people as possible. And of course, the first places I go are the most recent post that I had, whoever was liking it, and then maybe who watched my stories from the day before. Facebook is nice because you can look at your archive beyond 24 hours to see who was watching your stories and invite more that way. Instagram, you have to do it within the last 24 hours. So I try to do that on a daily basis, although Saturdays, a lot of times I don't do a power hour. So this would be like when I sit down tonight, send out invites, something that I will send to everyone who was watching my stories from the day before. So what are the potential responses you're going to get? And I think we can all basically agree that this is pretty much the response, like the different responses that you get most times. Sometimes you get something really snarky or weird, but most of the time you're going to get one, send me more info. Two, how much is it? That's a huge, huge response that I receive. And then three, you're not going to get a response or they're going to ghost you, which happens a lot. And ultimately, you guys, all the responses are okay. And I would say none of them disqualify you from inviting that person again. And we'll talk about that in follow-ups. But honestly, these are going to be the responses that I've probably received from every person I've ever signed up in this, and that's okay. So the next part is on you, right? Like when you get the send me more info or you get the how much is it, that's where you are back in control of the conversation. If you get no response or you get ghosted, but that person still is following along with your stories and liking all your posts, I would invite them again. Maybe you wait till your next boot camp opens up, totally fine. But I would never cross somebody off the list for ghosting me or for not responding. So when they say send me more info or how much is it, your response is going to be, do not answer the question unless you want to be a salesperson. So if somebody says, how much is it? And you're like, $160, it's a challenge pack. This is everything you're going to get, blah, blah, blah. And you vomit all over them. You pretty much lose the person right there. Unless they've done their research on some of this and they like you and they're like, okay, I'm ready. But that rarely happens. Usually you lose the person right away. So your job is going to be to ask questions back. So the first question I want to encourage everyone to respond with is, can you tell me more about your health and fitness goals? What has worked well for you in the past? What isn't working as well as you'd like? Because when you ask questions like this, you're going to be showing, number one, that you're human and you want to connect with them on a human level and you actually are here to help them with their concerns. Number two, asking what has worked well for you in the past will give you an idea of, have they tried this before? Are they in something now? Like, what do they really need? And so you want to start to identify that. And then number three, what isn't working as well as you'd like, gives you exactly what you need to know to start making recommendations in the right place. And we've got a document in our team page of like questions to ask potential interested customers. Of course, you can dig in further. You just kind of have to let them give you as much information as they want to give you, and you start to direct things as you go. Like a lot of times I do ask about preferred type of workouts or how much time they want to spend working out, or if they have equipment at home. And then if it's on the nutrition side, a lot of times I'll ask about dietary restrictions, if they have certain cravings, if their digestion is an issue or their energy is an issue. But ultimately, I can't get there until I ask what they're doing now and what has and hasn't worked well for them in the past. Because they might tell you right away their whole life story. They might just give you a little bit, so you'll have to keep asking questions. But honestly, you guys, this is going to be where your relationship building really starts. And this is where the trust factor really starts. So what happens a lot of times is when you invite someone, especially on Instagram, they'll see your invite. The first thing that they'll do is go to your Instagram stories, and they'll want to see what it is that you've been doing, who you are. So a lot of times talking about some of these things in your stories, which we'll get to next week, is going to be really huge, because that's where a lot of trust is built right away, right there. Then secondly, it's going to be built here in your conversation with them. So you've got to make sure you ask the right questions. I think it's really cool to affirm them at first too. Like if they say, how much? Or maybe send me more info. Be like, yeah, girl, I knew this would be right up your alley. Let me ask you a couple questions to get started. And then you go into it. And I think talking to them the way you would talk to a friend is huge. Like, don't say, yeah, girl, if you'd never say that to someone, just like, of course, like I'd love to share with you if that's the way you'd say it to a friend. And honestly, your invite should be worded the same way. Like you want to show them who you are authentically from day one. And that helps you too attract people that you want to work with. So speaking that way, obviously using Instagram or Facebook and your posts and your stories as who you are is really crucial. And then having the conversations developed with them the way that you typically would develop a conversation with a friend or an acquaintance would be huge. So this is the next piece that I think is going to be the biggest piece in inviting. So a lot of times what happens is this, and I'll tell you, I would say like 80% of coaches that start with us are these people. The 20%, 10%, that stick with it are the ones that succeed in this. What happens is you send a few invites, you don't get responses, and then you think you're not cut out for this. Anytime you have a limiting belief that pops up in your head, your brain is there to protect you. So what it does is it starts looking for proof of what it's saying. So when you say you're not cut out for this, then your brain will start to identify all the reasons why you're not cut out for this. You'll see your last Instagram post only received 2 likes, or you'll see your followers went down on Instagram, or you'll see maybe your customer stopped using Shakeology, or you'll see your brand new coach like not posting on social media, whatever it is. You'll start to look for evidence that you're not cut out for this. And then what you'll do is quit or cancel or stop inviting or make yourself small because you find like that it's too embarrassing or you're being judged too much to continue on with this. The reality is, you guys, you just haven't been here long enough to get good at this. And it only gets better by continuing to do it. You only get better by continuing to do it. So if that's what's happening, if you're sending a couple invites, you're not taking the responses that you like, then you shrink back and you make yourself small, you're never going to get anywhere. The way to overcome any failure or overcome any like potential setback or overcome any hardship is to keep doing that thing until you get good at it, until you love it, until you think it's fun, until you're ready to just check that off each day to say, I know I worked on sharing this with 30 people a day or 20 people a day. The problem is a lot of us get started and we set a goal for 1 to 2 invites a day. And I have to be honest with you guys, in today's world with social media, 1 to 2 invites a day probably aren't going to get seen right away. If they do get seen, it'll take a couple days. If, that one person ghosts you and the other person says, send me more info, they might then ghost you another week later. You've got to up the ante here, and you've got to put some skin in the game, and you've got to really be reaching out to people every single day, new people, and starting to plant those seeds every single day. You wouldn't plant a field for harvest with 1 to 2 seeds a day. Don't do that to your business either. The chances of every person saying yes are 0 in this, but the chances of you getting 3 to 5 yeses a month to get to Success Club, if you're touching new people each day, like say 5 to 10 people each day, are much, much higher. So you have to keep going with this, and then you have to build your own confidence with it, because the more people that you reach out to, the more positive responses you'll get. And then even if those people don't say yes that month, they become your follow-ups. That gives you more people to follow up with down the road. And oftentimes people need to be followed up with several times before they will ever take the plunge. So I want you to think about this. If you're in this place where you're feeling a little discouraged, where you feel like the invites that you're sending aren't being responded to, if you have decided, maybe I'm just going to do a little bit because I'm in that uncomfortable space, I want you to think about upping the game here and asking yourself better questions. Like if you're thinking, I'm not good at this, why don't you instead think, why am I excited about this? And look at those things each day when you make that gratitude list and start inviting from that place of excitement versus the place of fear and the place of judgment. Because I guarantee that if you're inviting excited, you'll be getting people that see your energy for this, and they'll be much more excited about joining you. And it changes the game on your business. Like all last month, and I'll stop sharing the screen, but I'll just, kind of share like a real thing. All last month, I was operating from like a place of fear about this whole business. I was feeling super awkward about inviting to coaching and being a leader because I felt like I wasn't doing that good of a job. And my invites were terrible. Like I could see myself like, I don't really want to do this. Like this is making me fearful, and I don't know that I have that much to offer someone. And so you know what I had to do? I had to start being really intentional about gratitude each day. I had to start saying affirmations, and I had to find my excitement again, like with Ultimate Portion Fix, and we're starting to see results again. And I feel this month so much better. And I'm already at Success Club 4 because I think I show up differently when I am in that excited place and when I'm operating from a place of like, this is awesome, you guys. Like what we have at our fingertips is really incredible. It can change lives. It's changed my life multiple times. And look at what it's done for my family. And when I'm sharing from that space versus, I don't know if you'd be interested, but like I've got this thing and like maybe it would be kind of good for you. I don't know. Like it's totally noticeable to the people that you're asking. And a lot of times people just want to feel better. They want to feel connected. They want to feel like somebody out there is thinking about them. And ultimately, that's how inviting changes the game, right? Like you're showing them, I have a way to make you feel better. I have a way to make you feel connected, and I care about you, and I'm checking in with you. And I think that looking at it that way versus the way of like, I've got this thing that I'm feeling really awkward about is huge. Inviting can be so fun, and it doesn't have to be like when I get a no now, I'm like, no big deal, girl. Like, we're always here. I just have this thing that I think is really awesome. Maybe it's not the right time for you, but we'll have new groups coming up next month. If I get ghosted, I still invite that person the next month. If I get told, send me more details, and they don't respond or like things go quiet after that, I'm still going to check in on that person. My goal is to show them that I am here. I'm coaching them from day one, even if they aren't yet my person. And hopefully I'm figuring out like who my next best friend in this business is going to be, and who my next best friend in our challenge groups is going to be, and who my next best friend in life is going to be. Because ultimately this has brought so many people like that into my life. And I think that's why it's easy to get excited about. So if you're not there yet, I would just encourage you, think about why you're here, think about why you're excited to be here, and think about increasing the number of people that you're talking to, because I guarantee that the more people you talk to, the less afraid you'll be of the response or lack of response. That was fast.
You did good. Thank you. I think that was a good refresher for all of us and newbies.
Well, my hope is that I'll put this, so I created some units last week for like new coach resources and then ongoing resources. And I want to put all these calls from this month into the new coach resources just to give like, the basics right away and say, this doesn't have to be so scary and weird. And then hopefully that gets, even filtered through to the coaches that maybe are in a tough spot with like whatever that behavior is,
Definitely.
Does anybody have any questions? You look good.
Yeah.
I love
it. Prettied up every once in a while.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I do. Besides definitely like keeping up with people that ghost you, and if they tell you no, still keep building that friendship and relationship. I mean, like the story with Shakeology that I shared earlier this week, that girl was a girl I invited a long time ago, like right when I started a few times. I continued that conversation, relationship, I hadn't invited her to anything in a while until I did in November, but I was still talking to her in between. And then, I mean, December, and then December is when I invited her. She started, and, she's had good success with it. So now she, is thinking about doing some coaching. So, like, you just really never know when somebody's in their season.
Yeah, totally.
And
I think sometimes
destiny.
by you asking them or by you inviting them, sometimes you're telling them right away, like, I think you can do this. And their thought before might be, I'm not cut out for that. And then it opens that invitation up, especially on the coaching side of things.
Yeah.
And I did want to say, like, obviously, some forms of inviting now are like putting a poll into your stories or putting into your, posts, drop a whatever below if you want to join. But oftentimes the people that really want or need this are not going to be responding to those things. They'll still be the fly on the wall waiting on you to ask them. So don't look at those things as like, I can only reach out to the people that are responding to that, or I can only reach out to the people that are like commenting on that post where you say comment on it, because oftentimes the people that like end up joining are the ones that are just liking or just creeping on the story. And so you have to actively reach out and ask those people.
I would say probably 80% or plus of our people are people we've reached out to.
Yeah.
And sometimes are people you don't even know. They've never liked anything. They've never, and they're like, yeah, I've been wanting to
I'd
do
say
it.
90, 95. In the rare case, I get like a referral from somebody, and that's great, but it doesn't happen that often. And then, of course, like there have been times where I've said after I am signing someone up, like, is there anybody else who maybe wants to do this with you? Destiny.
I love it.
And sometimes people will say yes, but oftentimes it's like the people that will join you, and those are going to be people that you have started the conversation with.
Oh, I was going to try to get a picture of True Life Coaching.
It's so true. Okay, Destiny or Jennifer, do y'all have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing it.
I feel like that's what you and I talked about a lot. Did you see my quote I posted today? Because it made me think of you.
Yeah. Everyone that looks at my stories are, there are some of them that I need to invite. A lot of them are, I don't know, I feel like I don't have anyone that looks at my stories that I don't personally know. And, which I'm not saying that I shouldn't invite the ones I don't personally know, but, I don't know. A lot of them I see every day, and, but then I like could kick myself because I invited someone recently and she had already signed up for Beachbody because she'd seen what I was doing.
Yeah.
And if I had invited her, I did get her switched over to me, but I just have to, my goal this week, I've got my Success Club tracker sheet out, and I'm going to try really hard to, I really feel like I'm doing every single thing that I need to be doing except for the inviting part. So
yeah, oftentimes that's the part that people try to resist the longest, but honestly it's the part that grows your business the most.
Yeah.
So if you have this thing that you hate to do in the business, which for me is inviting, I mean, I don't hate it, but it's oftentimes I'm like, like the thing I'm pushing myself to do, try to do it first and just knock it out, because you'll feel so much better. So instead of worrying about posting all my stuff or checking into all the groups, and I know I've got 10 minutes, I'm like, I'm just going to see how many people I can invite in the next 10 minutes. And then I know it's done. And I oftentimes think if I start looking at people's stories and I look at the clock and I'm like, I've been looking at stories for 2 minutes. I've got time to invite people.
Yeah.
Like if I'm watching somebody else, I've got time to grow my own business, And then if there are people in your life that you feel, I know them, so that's awkward, they're watching you every single day. They might wonder why you haven't asked them if this is something that you're doing. And so I think just saying like, hey, I appreciate you like continuing to support me is
Yeah.
super motivating. Would you want to join me in this too? And I have to say, like, one of my best friends, I didn't ask to be a coach with me for months, and she finally approached me about it. And I'm like, man, I should have just said something way sooner, you know, like this could have been something she could have been growing much more quickly, but because I was like, but if you believe in it, then you should be able to share it with them too.
Yeah. And the ones that I have invited, like one of them is her daughter's on dance team with my daughter, and she was really like, she responded to me right away. She just said she wasn't interested at the moment, but she has, you know, she's been very positive and nice, and she didn't ghost me. And but then I've got invited some who've not responded at all, but I haven't gotten any negative or rude responses. So I don't know what, you know, I just need to do it. It's not that nothing negative has happened that's encouraged me, that's discouraged me. It's just been, I guess I'm scared of getting that rude response.
Yeah. I think now that I send so many, their responses don't get to me as much. I mean, of course, some people do, but
I've honestly rarely gotten a rude response. One that got me when I first started and then slowed me down on my inviting for a little bit is some girl goes, man, do I look that bad? Do I need to lose that much weight? And I was like, oh, no. Like, I didn't mean it like that at all. Like, I mean, and that's probably like the worst I came. And she quickly came back. She was like, I was just picking with you, girl. And I was like, huh, like that wasn't a joke, you know? But I mean, not really. I have barely got any mean. And it's not that mean. Just get lots of no's and ghosting.
Yeah.
No. And those people will come around more than likely.
yeah. So the girl I signed up yesterday asked me for info on Transform 20 when it first came out, and then said no, started ghosting me for a little bit. And then I started posting about Ultimate Portion Fix, and I asked her last month, no response. And then for some reason on my stories this weekend, she's like, more info, interested, and then she signed up right away. I mean, you just can't give up on people. And I think that's what differentiates me probably from a lot of people that quit is like, I literally look at it as like, what can I do to help you? And I'll keep following up with you until I can help you, versus a lot of people that are like, I just feel like this, I'm not good at this. I'm like, you're not good. You're not getting the response you want, but that doesn't mean you're not good. It just means they're not ready yet. You know, it's not about you. It's about them. So I think that sometimes just flipping the mentality is kind of the key.
Mm-hmm. I sent out a few.
Well, I try to remember that.
Yeah. Recently that I've even said, hey, I know you've been really interested, but, you know, I didn't say like budget, but I said something else. I can't remember. It's been, you know, like a concern or whatever. I was like, you know, I'd still love to have you in a group. You can get started with just like the quarterly 39. Like that's getting them in there. You're still helping them. It's getting you some volume. It's getting you a little bit of commission, and you never know, like they can eventually. One of the girls on our team right now, she said she couldn't afford Shakeology, couldn't do a challenge pack. She's convinced her husband into it. She's now a coach. She's getting it every month. Like sometimes you just never know. Like it'll just kind of, they kind of, I guess, like say they don't have the money and they don't understand the value of what we've got until they get it. And they're like, oh, I guess I can work this in because this is really helping me too.
Well, that sounds like how I was.
Yeah. I think all of us were probably skeptics of this before we started in some way.
Or just didn't know, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back when I used to buy like P90X off of eBay, and I'd quit it after I did that with P90X and P90X2, and I'm like, or 3, and I'm like, man, if I would have known that there was like a business behind this years ago, maybe I would have done this sooner, because nobody ever told me about it, you know?
Well, and if you're not sharing, they don't know either, even though to us we seem like we're putting it out there like we are selling it, but Destiny didn't know that you could coach with it until I actually shared that the coaching opportunity. She's like, oh, you can coach with this? And I'm like, yeah, girl. You've got to put it out there. Sometimes you never know who's going to see it when they do. So that's why I've tried to work at doing it more frequently too.
A lot of people don't even know what Beachbody is.
Mm-mm.
All right, ladies, well, let's take a picture. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep doing laundry? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Where's little man jumping off the window?
I know, right? He needs to be in the picture. And Jennifer, you need to hold up the laundry detergent. Destiny, you get your son.
I'll hold my dog up.
We can all be really real here. I'm sitting on the bathroom floor.
Robert turned off. Oh my goodness. Robert turned off my Zoom a little bit ago. Oh,
right,
Destiny,
well,
hey, I got really confused. I was about to ask Jen, when did she get a little kid?
But
the position switched on me.
I'm trying to climb under the couch now.
Oh, that's fun too.
Have boys
Make
they say,
tents.
right?
Make some forts. Well, y'all have a good night.
yeah, bye guys. Happy Cinco.
Y'all too.
Bye.